Welcome back to part 2 of this Explore the USS North Carolina. As this video begins, I am below in one of the engineering spaces, where I am presented with one of the ship's diesel generators, along with its power distribution panel, which seems to be missing a few indicators. This is one of the ship's 4 throttle boards, and is where engine commands from the bridge are turned into action with the engines and machinery. The engine order telegraph. The RPM indicator helps confirm orders by communicating shaft RPM back up to the bridge. This tells the operator the actual shaft RPM. Another engine telegraph. What this one is used for, I do not know. Here's one of the steam turbines that generates power to run the propeller shaft. This one being a high pressure turbine, which generates approximately 30,000 horsepower. The high RPM of the steam turbine is reduced to an RPM that the propellers can use with this 140,000 pound reduction gear unit. The output from the steam turbine is reduced by a ratio of 20:1 and comes out on the opposite side of the reduction gear, one deck below on the propeller shaft. For example, if the steam turbine is spinning at 2600 RPM, the reduction gear would reduce that to 130 RPM on the propeller shaft, a perfect RPM for a 15-knot cruise speed. Here you can see a small portion of the helical gears inside the unit. This is a low-pressure turbine, and inside the tube, its shaft feeds energy into the reduction gear. The propeller shaft comes out of the bottom of the unit on the deck below and can be seen down through the grating. I've moved up to third deck aft into the ship's laundry, where you can see some of the clothing and linen presses. This looks like laundry receiving. Some commercial grade washing machines. Here's a small cruise berthing area. They even had a print shop, complete with a full darkroom for developing film. Here and after steering is where the machinery is located that moves the ship's 2 20-foot tall rudders, normally controlled from the bridge by these large hydraulic rams here in the lower level of the stern. In an emergency, the after steering watch could take over and operate the rudders from within this space. This is the very top of the rudder, where the rams twist the tiller left and right to move the rudder. Here's a look from behind the tiller, looking forward at the steering gear. The ship was also equipped with an excellent machine shop. Here's a large lathe which allowed the crew to fabricate parts while underway far out at sea. This is a vertical turret lathe, typically used for boring very accurate holes. And this is a shaping or milling machine. I am now down another deck below the waterline in what is called plot or fire control. And these brass handles are the firing keys used to fire the ship's guns. The left grip is the salvo alarm, which is sounded 3 times just before firing to let everyone on the vessel know the guns were about to go off. The center grip was pulled when ready to fire and would wait until the ship rolled perfectly level before sending the shells. The right grip would fire immediately upon being pulled, regardless of the ship's roll. There were several of these vertical stable gyro computers located in both the forward and aft plot rooms, providing redundancy and flexibility on firing the ship's guns. This wall of T-handles is actually a wall of switches. They allowed operators to direct and redirect gun and firing information between any of the plot areas and any of the guns. Basically, any one of the plot positions can be set up to control any one of the guns above on the deck by making the appropriate selections on the switchboard. For example, this is mount number 6, train selector. Train is the gun's left and right movement. This switch would allow the number 6 gun mount to receive train information from director 1, 2, 3, or 4. Or, when in the off position, like it is now, the trainer inside the gun mount would be the person responsible for that information. Here's a look around plot. One of the firing control computers used to calculate a firing solution, which was then sent to the guns using the switch panel we just looked at. Another stable vertical gyro and firing keys. I'm now down in Turret 2's projectile handling room. It was here that crew members selected projectiles, moved them over to the hoist, and sent them up into the gun house 2 decks above. Further down, we get into powder storage, where more projectiles are stored along the outer wall. Down below in the powder flat is where the powder bags are pulled from storage and sent up the hoist into the gun house. Powder bags were stowed in these aluminum canisters, 3 bags per container. Bags weighed 90 pounds and needed to be hefted over to this scuttle, where they came out here on the powder flat, and then were moved over to the hoist in the center of the platform. 2 bags of powder were sent up at a time to the turret 5 decks above. That's 6 bags of powder per gun per projectile. A full 9-gun salvo required 54 bags of powder weighing 4,860 pounds. We've emerged from the North Carolina after looking around for the last 2 hours, and I have seen perhaps half of what the ship has to offer. I'll admit, I completely enjoyed looking around the vessel. There's the starboard hawse pipe, minus its anchor. Unlike many World War II era museum ships, this one has nearly no post-war modifications, because it was decommissioned just 2 years after the war ended. There are 2 of the quad-mount 40mm positions here on the fantail. I hope you enjoyed that explore of the USS North Carolina. Well worth a visit if you are visiting Wilmington. By the way, Wilmington itself is a charming city and worth a visit in its own right here on the North Carolina coast. And that will wrap up this visit to the Battleship North Carolina. Remember, life is a journey. Enjoy the ride, and thanks for watching.